Let's take a look on how to create an animation like this. We're gonna use the cloth simulation to create a mesh and the wave modifier for the animation, plus some simple materials and a simple world environment. So let's go. Okay, then let's go. So first thing we need to do is select everything and delete it. So I'm hitting A and then X to delete it. We are going to create a cloth simulation for this. So we got some geometry that we can work with. And yeah, the cloth simulation works fine for this. So I'm hitting Shift A, search for the plane, scale it up a bit. So I'm hitting S and then 10 to scale it up 10 times. Now I'm hitting G and then Z to move it up a bit. I'm also holding down Control to move it up in this steps. Now we need a mesh that the cloth simulation can collide with. So I'm just adding a new UV sphere, hitting S and press 2 to scale it up 2 times, and then G and Z again to move it up a bit. So okay, we can select the plane, get to the physics tab and enable the cloth simulation. And right here you got some default values that you can use. Let's just use the cotton one and see what it does. And also we need to enable the collision for the sphere. So I'm selecting the sphere, I'm in the physics tab and enable the collision. I think we can leave everything how it is, and let's hit spacebar to see what happens. So our plane needs some more geometry. I'm selecting the plane and hitting tab to get into edit mode, and then we can just right click and subdivide it a couple of times. Something like this should be fine. Okay, I'm hitting tab again to get back into the object mode, and now we can hit spacebar and see what happens. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm hitting, I'm right clicking on it and hit shade smooth. And let's see which frame we want to use. Yeah, maybe something like this is fine, where it's not completely like the end of the simulation. Yeah. Yeah, I think we can use this frame. So I'm right clicking on it and convert it to a mesh. And we can delete the sphere. So I'm just hitting X here in the outliner. And this is fine. So what we can do is get into the modifier tab and search for subdivision surface to make it a little bit smoother. We can also shade it smooth, and let's give it a level of 2 for now. Okay, now we could create ourselves a new world environment just so that we can see what's going on. So I'm right clicking on our current layout and duplicate it. We're gonna drag ourselves a new window and choose the shader editor and switch from object to world view. So we don't need that stuff here, so I'm deleting it. And let's create ourselves a new sky texture. We're gonna plug in a background and a hue and saturation node, so we can change the colors from the sky texture. Let's plug this in, and we're gonna use a sun elevation from 180 degrees. Okay, that's something we can use for now. We probably gonna change some values here, but yeah, just for a start here so we can see something. Okay, now we can start with creating the material for our cloth simulation. And let's switch back to object mode. we are going to create a new material. So let's put metallic to 1, roughness to 0.2. Let's plug in a noise texture into the base color. And we also need a color ramp in between. And you can select the noise texture and Control T. So we got the mapping node and the texture coordinates. And we can also use a brightness contrast node. And plug it right before it goes into the base color. We also want to use some displacement. So I'm searching for the displacement node. Plug it into the displacement. Let's create ourselves a new color ramp so we can control the displacement a bit. And let's plug it into the height. And we can also use the noise texture and feed it into the color ramp. Let's change the texture coordinates. We want to use the UV. And now we can change the mapping type to normal. So now we get the stripes. And we can increase the scale from the noise texture to something big. Let's try 40. Yeah, let's go with this for now. And we could also increase the detail. Let's give it a number. Yeah, 6 is okay. We can change this, all of this later on. We can also bring the displacement color ramp a bit closer together. Yeah, and change the scale to something like 0.15. And mid-level can be 0. Okay, now we could start animating the cloth simulation mesh. And we're going to use the Wave Modifier for this. So this is a pretty simple way to animate a whole mesh. Let's make our timeline 150 frames. Back to the first frame. And let's see what happens. This is way too strong and too fast. So we are going to decrease the height to something like 0.1. Maybe 0.2. And now we can also change the speed under the time. Let's make it 0.2. Maybe 0.2 should be nice here. Let's make it 0.1. Okay, now we need a camera in the scene, so I'm getting back to the first tab and duplicate it again. Drag ourselves a new window, and on this here we're gonna use this one for the camera. So I'm going into the side view, hitting Shift A and create a new camera. Let's place it somewhere around here. We go into the camera view and let's use a default resolution, and we can lock the camera to view and now find a good spot where we can find a good spot for our camera. So I'm going to change the aspect ratio a bit. Let's give it something like 200. Okay, I think we're gonna use something like this. As you can see, we got these weird blocks in here. We can remove them if we're gonna use the multi-res modifier. So I'm searching for multi-res. Should be the first modifier. And we can hit subdivide here to subdivide the mesh. Yeah, and you need to subdivide it a couple of times to get rid of these. So in this case it's 4. And for the viewport I would suggest like using 0, so you got a smoother 3D viewport. So now it's basically time to fine-tune the colors and everything, the world settings. What we can do is change the color ramp from our material, and let's add some colors. We are just going to add a couple of these. See what makes sense. I'm also going to increase the multi-res a bit in the viewport to something like 2. Maybe get some orange in there. Gonna make the colors a little bit brighter. Okay, let's get back to something like 1. And we can also go back to the world settings and see if we can improve something here. Maybe increase the strength to something like 1.5 or 4. And the cool thing is, with the hue and saturation node, we can just really quickly change the overall look of the colors here. We can also increase the saturation. And let's see if we can improve this with the sun elevation. Let's make it something like 170. And let's get the strength down a bit. Yeah, I think I don't want the green in here. We can also maybe use black in here. And yeah, we can also play around with the noise texture again. Let's see if we can improve the displacement. Maybe we can just unplug the base color for now to see what the displacement is doing. Okay, let's plug this back into the base color. Let's get back to the world settings and see. Yeah, so basically it's just like fine-tuning right now, but this is basically the technique for it. So I'm going to duplicate our camera with Shift D and right click to lock it into place it was before. Lock the camera and let's see if we can find another cool angle. And if you want the waves to be a little bit stronger, you can always play around with the height here. So something like 0.4 makes sense. Just keep looking around in the viewport to find the spot for our camera. And yeah, for the render settings, probably something like 300 samples would be enough for this. I would suggest you to render it as PNG sequence and then put it in your video editor and render the final video in there. And yeah, playing around with the scale from the noise texture gives you a couple of different results. So definitely play around with that. Okay, that's it for the tutorial. I hope you like this one. If you want to see more of that stuff, make sure to subscribe and see you in the next one. Peace.